As you can tell, the Fire King and or Dragon King is slowly melting away Polar Peak and we don't know what is happening. My name's Kando. If you guys like the video, please like it. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. As I'm making this video, I'm 150 subscribers off of 21,000. That's a cool milestone. I just got a creator code, so if you guys want to use my creator code, tweet me pictures of you using it. I'll retweet it and put them in videos. If not, it's all good. I still love you guys. Just make sure to use a creator code for your favorite, Twitch streamer or YouTuber. It helps them out as well. So let's get into why I think that the Fire King is going to melt away Polar Peak, hatch these fire eggs, and somehow he's going to flood this entire area, and we're going to have boats implemented into the game. So let's get into it. As you see on screen from my last video, it has gotten deeper. Before this, it was nowhere near as liquefied as it is. Now even more drops of rain or drops of water coming off of this is being seen. You can also see the chains are slowly going down and down into the ice, so you can obviously see that there is something in there. There's something locked up. Now, there's a lot of theories. Like I said, made 2 videos on this previously talking about how I think it's the Fire King. I've also seen some theories talking about how it could be a dragon, like the mother dragon, locked up. And what ends up happening is she maybe hatches, or not hatches, but she ends up melting this out. She escapes, or maybe she can escape, but she melts this area, and she breathes her fire into the right-hand corner where those eggs are, and they hatch, and they help her escape. I've seen some theories like that. So, I don't know if you guys have seen this from any YouTubers, so maybe I'm the first one to do this, but I cleared this entire area out, broke the entire dungeon just to see the, the interior of this entire area. So what I'm doing right here is I'm breaking this just to show you guys what it actually looks like and how big this area is, because not a lot of people are showing the inside of it. They're not getting into the real meat and potatoes of what this actually means and what it looks like. So you're going to see me break the area around it, and then you're going to see me look right here and give you a little bit of a post shot of what I did. So you're going to see right here that the chains and the ice are actually connected, and then above it you can see that there's like this kind of balloon kind of sculpture above the chains. So what my theory is when the Fire King or whoever comes out of this ice, I personally think it's going to be some guy like the Fire King or maybe a dragon or something like that. When it comes out of the ice, it's going to pull down on these chains, and it's going to break the entire castle down and break Polar Peak. So we're also going to be talking about how when he breaks this, or somebody breaks this, we don't know who's in it, but I'm just showing you right here, it's slowly melting on the sides. I honestly think it's the Fire King, because why would this randomly start melting? There's no flame inside, there's nothing, I broke everything inside and it's still melting. You can obviously see that somebody's trying to escape. There's something burning inside. So there's obviously someone who's either on fire, or possibly someone who's like a dragon or a type dragon. Like I said right here, these dragon eggs right here. So before we get into the flooding of, Greasy Grove and how Polar Peak's going to break down and I think an avalanche is going to happen, we're going to talk about these dragon eggs. So what you're going to see on screen right here is a huge footprint. Now, this has been in the game for a minute now, and nobody's really understood why it's there. So if we were to have dragons into the game or implemented into the game, you can obviously tell that there's some type of Easter egg or hidden agenda here between this picture and or video, depending on if you guys have seen it before or not. So if you guys were to think that the dragons would spawn or they would hatch, so we're going to get into this theory a little bit with the spawning and the hatching of the dragons, right? So if they hatch, they're obviously going to be baby dragons, right? They have to be, baby to maybe teenage dragons, just because they're incubated, they're tied up. And that's why people think that this theory of someone in the ice is actually a pet dragon of his, where he's locked them away because he doesn't think that, it's stable. So maybe that the dragon is locked up in there and it's huge. But my opinion is, if it's a dragon, why would it be in that small piece of ice? Unless it's like, its head is there, and then underneath that little tiny brick of ice that people are seeing that is melting, maybe the dragon is inside of that. But you can see that these eggs are not very big. That piece of ice is not very big. So I don't think that there's a dragon inside of it. I mean, there could be, because it does divot in. As you can tell, I'm running around it. It does kind of sink into the ground, meaning like maybe something heavy is pulling it in. So honestly, there could be more to this area right here, because it is a giant snow or giant ice mountain. So there is a theory about that, but I still personally think that the dragon eggs are going to be the Fire King's pets, or, they're going to be his companions that are going to help him take over this entire area, or maybe even the map. I honestly want to know what you guys think, because I actually might be the only person on YouTube or a YouTuber that has done this, where they've cleared out the entire dungeon just so it's all ice, just to see what it actually looks like and if there's any more Easter eggs. The only big Easter egg I could see is when you clear this entire area out, it divots into the ground, and then it kind of looks like it's pulling the castle downward. So maybe there is something heavy in there. There could be, maybe the Fire King is just that strong, or maybe it is a dragon that is locked up and the dragon skin is going to be available. Maybe it's a huge dragon and somebody is inside of it. So that could be a reason too, but I still think that it has to be a person and not an actual dragon, just because they come out with the skin this Thursday coming up. So now let's get into the theory when he does escape, or whenever it escapes, right? So there was some theories earlier on in the season talking about an avalanche. I don't think it's specifically going to be an avalanche. I honestly think that the Fire King is going to melt Polar Peak, or he's going to break Polar Peak. So you see how big Polar Peak is, and you see right here, this is Greasy Grove. So I think what's going to end up happening is Polar Peak and that castle are going to break. That entire area of ice is going to shatter, and it's going to bring a huge avalanche down and a huge waterfall down, because I think it's going to be a lot of water, because he's going to melt this entire area. And what I think is going to end up happening is when it melts this area, or when it brings these castles down, or this castle and this ice down, it's going to end up shattering this lake under us, and it's going to make a huge problem with water. And this is where Season 8 kind of comes into play here. I think what happens with Season 8, or maybe a couple weeks before Season 8 starts, so when the skin comes out, whether he melts the entire area or not, I think they're going to end up introducing this area as more of like a flooded area instead of more of an avalanche area. And when it is flooded, what I think is going to happen is they're going to introduce boats, because I think boats are just going to come to the game, because they've come out with RVs, they've come out with planes, so the only thing that's possible next is maybe a speedboat. I can honestly see it now, kind of like how the Coast Guard have their boats where, they could seat about 2 or 3 people, and then they have a gunner on top where a gunner can shoot, obviously the machine gun that's going to be on top. That's just my opinion, what would happen if they did come out with a water area. There's 2 separate ideas, right? A water area where it's flooded, or he does a post-apocalyptic where he just melts everything and shatters everything, making a huge play for Season 8, making it more of like a post-apocalyptic map, which I think would be really, really sick, but I just don't see it happening because the fans probably wouldn't like to see it. So what you're going to see on screen right here is something that we've been speaking about for weeks now, honestly, with the Infinity Blade. If you guys remember, the Infinity Blade first came out, and then they nerfed it because it was too strong. So there are codes in the files that say that there's going to be another sword, whether it's they're bringing back the Infinity Blade because they said that they need to vault it and figure out, how to nerf it, which they still, maybe they figured it out, maybe they haven't, maybe on this next content update they come out with it. But the Infinity Blade is supposed to be right here, and if you could look closely, the snow is slowly melting around this area. So I think what happens is the Fire King is attached to this blade, and I think that this blade here, this is obviously all theory, but I think that this blade is the kryptonite to the Fire King. I think that it's kind of like, if you guys have ever read the Bible, or if you guys have ever went to like CCD, they talk about Michael, and Michael the Archangel, he has his blade, and that was the way that he ended up, slaying Lucifer, or banishing Lucifer into hell. So I think it's going to be something like that, where he needs his blade to be stronger than the Ice King. And I honestly think that it will work out that way, where he pulls this sword from this ice, kind of like the King Arthur lore, where he who holds the blade is the king, or he who holds the blade is the chosen one. I think that, the Fire King, or whatever this skin is that comes out of this icicle that is obviously slowly melting, or this ice prison that's slowly melting, is going to end up destroying Polar Peak. And when he finally destroys Polar Peak, or it destroys Polar Peak, he's going to take his sword and slay the Ice King. And I think that when he slays the Ice King, or maybe something that could happen is, if you remember the live event that happened a couple weeks ago, how he was huge? Maybe that ends up happening with the Fire King. Maybe they end up both battling over Polar Peak, and maybe they both swing as hard as they can. They both hit each other really hard, and then it brings this gust of wind, and this gust of wind maybe destroys all of the snow that's around there, or flooding when he swings the blade and ends up bringing hellfire or fire. So honestly, I really don't know particularly what's going to happen, but that's just my theory. Is I think that he's going to end up breaking down Polar Peak. It's going to end up Greasy Grove, or the area under Polar Peak. I think that he brings down this entire castle with both of his arms. Maybe after breaking it, it shatters. It breaks down this entire avalanche onto Greasy Grove, shatters the ice. It finally floods because the ice finally broke. Or maybe, you know, he could hatch these dragons and then he can ride these dragons. Maybe they hatch fully because of some mystic power that he has, all 5 of them. And then they end up going in the air and just ridding this entire, you know, map of snow. Maybe either they shoot fire out of their mouths and then evaporate this entire map, and then they make it more of like a post-apocalyptic world, which could, honestly, we could see that theory happening too, where he kind of just destroys this entire map and it's just filled with fire, broken down trees, burnt everything. You know, that would be actually pretty cool. One area of the map where it's just absolutely destroyed and burnt. I think that could be where Polar Peak is, since it will be the birthplace of whatever is hidden or whatever is frozen and imprisoned into this frozen ice right here. So I just have a, you know, still video of it just because I think that it's really cool. I think that it's going to be really interesting when it comes out Thursday. If you guys are really interested into the Easter eggs, I would honestly wait till, you know, Wednesday night and then see what's happening. Maybe, you know, they do a little snippet of melting, or maybe it cracks or something like that. That'd be pretty cool if it was cracked, or if you could maybe see a hand slowly coming out of it. I think that's what they'll end up doing Wednesdays. Maybe we'll see a hand coming out of it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to leave a like. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Please comment down in the comment section below what you guys think is going to happen with the Ice King or the Fire King or whoever's coming out of this to slay the Ice King. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. My name's Candle. I love you guys, and I'm out. Peace.